I think what I really want to leave everyone with is that having tools, whether it's an Align mat or just tuning into yourself and putting yourself first, is going to allow you to keep all the plates and obligations and the things that you're doing in your life spinning and working more effectively when you put yourself first. Like, you got to love this vessel and take care of this vessel, because if you're sick, there's no way you can do all of the things that you love and enjoy and want to do, even if it is working harder to provide for your kids, even if you have the best of intentions. If you're burned out, and I'm speaking from experience here, I mean, I burned myself out at a very young age to be able to learn how to heal myself so I can now share this. We need to nourish and love on ourselves more now than ever, and to be able to provide and serve for others.
Well, welcome to the FLOWE. This is Kelly Kennedy from the True Wellness Center, and I am so extremely happy and honored to share the stage today with Alyssa Blue, my great friend from the Quantum Align Mat. And her and Mike have been little sparkles of gems of, as they are, quantum fireflies in my life that have just like flown in and just now are steady states with the family and with not what we offer at True Wellness, what I have in my home. I'm recording this out of my home today, which I don't often record podcasts out of my home, but I actually stayed home because as I'm recovering, I knew I had this at home so I could treat myself. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. So Alyssa Blue, thank you so much for joining us. And I want to share with everybody you and your background a little bit. But then I want to dive into what PEMF is, why your mat's different, why it's so gorgeous, and what makes it so special. And then once they get to know you, they'll know why you're so special. So welcome to the FLOWE Show.
It's an honor. I'm so excited to be here with you. And I know that you've come into my life on this earth walk. We've done this many times before because it was an instant soul recognition, but I'm so grateful to know you. And thank you so much for being on this journey with us.
Oh, thank you. And I had my little Norwal here because, so we met in September when I was in Sarasota, right? Yeah. But I had found their mat in June. I think it was a biohack last year at Dave Asprey's biohack conference. And I walked around that whole conference hall. I've been doing this for a long time. For those of you who know, this is true silver hair. I've earned every little slice of it. I've been doing this for 27 years, and I walked around, and I'm a little litmus test for the good product out there. And those of you who know, I've represented FLOWE Prezzo for about 5 years. I represent Son of Souls exclusively in the United States. And I don't really recommend a ton of other products because there's not a lot out there that really work. We've been selective as we've had like a center at True Wellness Center for about 9 years. But when I saw this mat, I literally walked up to this person. It wasn't you and it wasn't Mike. I don't know who it was, some person at the show. And I just was like, I need the car. I'm going to buy this mat. And they were like, well, do you want to try it? I was like, nope, don't need to. Don't have time to. Just know this is the thing. And then it was like 5 months later, I'm at this other event and everybody's like, you got to meet Mike and Alyssa. You got to meet Mike and Alyssa. You got to meet Mike and Alyssa. And then I saw the mat. I was like, hey, that's that mat. I want to try that mat later. And then everybody's like, you got to try the mat. You got to try the mat. You got to try the mat. And then I sit next to you. I have this amazing connection and conversation. We don't have time to say each other's names. And then all of a sudden, like hours later, we're walking through a hallway and they're like, oh, you can meet Mike and Alyssa. This is Mike and Alyssa. I'm like, no way. And they're the ones with the mat? No way. That's so crazy. As my life goes, as Julie says all the time, is this real life? Yes, it is, Julie. Yes, it is. I am Trinity, and this is the D program, and welcome to the Quantum. But tell them a little bit. I've been talking way too much. Tell them, how'd you get here, Alyssa? Did you always set out in your life to start, I'm going to create a quantum align mat? I love your background, and I'm waiting for you to say it so I don't have to, because it's such a beautiful. I'm going to say it the way I say it after you say what your background is.
I don't have Mike here to introduce me. Usually he does that because it makes me blush a little bit. And I guess I got so used to not talking about it for so long, but I did not set out to create an align mat or any quantum technology. I studied to be an aerospace engineer because I really good at math and science, and I really liked Top Gun. So I liked planes. That was how that happened. And someone's like, "Oh, it's really hard to do," and I'm like, "Well, just watch me." And it was really hard to do, and I had a lot of help way from some really smart people I went to school with, went to college. Graduated, and I realized that about a year into my career field, after I had my own healing crisis, I got super sick, and a little voice inside my head squawked really loudly and said, "If you stay here, you're going to die." And I transitioned really quickly out of that industry into a completely different industry to walk 10 years to learn how to heal myself. And now looking back, what I didn't realize in my early 20s, that living out of alignment with your passion and your purpose, the universe, God, source, energy has a way of shifting you on your path. And so both Mike and I
true rocket scientist. So what I love about Alyssa is that, so here she is. She's a gymnast, by the way. She's like a little badass physical gymnast as well. And so she was really smart. She had come from your mom, single mom, right? Pretty much. And so a little scrappy, had to make things happen. And in college, I mean, it's not as, she's painting a very direct story. It's not that direct. And when she finally was like, "Oh, I'm going to prove them all wrong, and I'm going to become a rocket scientist," essentially. And she was doing that. She was burning her candle at both ends as a rocket scientist, because there was still this little, what I call this little blueberry, and her last name's Blue. No joke. She's a little blueberry, and she loves to have fun, and she's very gregarious and charismatic and likes to have a lot of fun. So she was living this very dual lifestyle of rocket scientist by day, burning the candle at both ends by night, crashing at both ends, just trying to make it all happen, as we all do, as we were just speaking about before we started this recording. As I'm a AAA personality, which I don't equate to anymore. I used to, prior to this recording today, I used to call myself that. I don't want to be a AAA personality anymore. It's not a badge of honor to say we can do it all. But Alyssa was one of those people saying I can do it all, and her body started to break down. And when her body started to break down, she quickly got into another field, because what she was doing was very toxic too, and she didn't really love what she was doing. Honestly. The big guns were cool, but they weren't really the most environmentally conscious job you've probably ever had.
All of the things, as we shift into this paradigm of more love and consciousness, it's really not the military industrial complex. Like, I love technology, as you can see sitting behind you, but it's a blending of ancient wisdom and modern technology that's going to bring us closer to our understanding of how to heal and take care of and nourish this vessel.
But it is quite the dichotomy. I mean, literally, you were working on huge guns, and correct me where I'm wrong, like Star Wars. Like, you were literally involved with Star Wars. I mean, Silas and I sat across from her at breakfast a couple months ago in Sarasota, and I was like, "Silas, like, she's the real deal. Like, this is like ask all the questions."
The plane that I worked on. It's funny. It's been the plane that I actually worked on was born. The product was birthed before I was born. It was a 1970s aircraft that serves an incredible purpose and still to this day flies, because it supports our ground troops. So as long as that America has a need to go be involved in conflicts overseas, it does a very good job at doing that. So I think that I felt at that time that I was doing a good service and in helping and supporting, and until I got sick and I had to make a decision on my own health. And I think so often we were just having this conversation, like, as caretakers, even in our field now, as practitioners, like, we want to help so many others, and we have to realize, like, man, if I don't put myself first, how am I going to continue doing the work that I'm doing, regardless of the industry?
Yeah, exactly. So then, how did you get really involved in, so you started searching for your own healthcare. I imagine you found I'm imagining that the aerospace engineer had a bit more critical thinking and reading when she was looking at technology. That's just, I'm just guessing. But I imagine, like me, you're a bit more critical of what you were seeing.
It was always in the physical realm because I just think that that's what we're taught. It's like, oh, okay, diet, movement, sleep, like looking for all of the physical things, even though, again, that little voice inside my head was like, you need to move. I never really equated that to like my higher source, my faith, like, hey, putting me on my path. Where I think that's a huge involvement now is like checking inward with my barometer. But as a researcher and as an engineer, I became a summit junkie. I mean, we touched on this a little bit. Like I was trying to learn from the best of the best in their field to try and feel better. I was struggling with extreme chronic gut issues. I wasn't digesting food. I did all of the Western things initially. I had GI specialists. I had neurologists when I was in my aerospace, when my health crisis happened then, and they just couldn't explain what was going on with me, like losing limb function, vomiting. They were doing MRIs of my head, MRIs of my neck. It was a very scary time, and no one had answers for me.
Yeah, this wasn't an extreme like, oh, I have bloated and gas. Like she had neurological involvement and lack of function that was causing her to get like rushed to, specialists to go, hey, let's look, is there a brain involvement here? What is happening? She can't function.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was really scary because, again, like you talked about burning the candle at both ends. So not only was I working in my aerospace career on an Air Force base alongside military members, I was competing in fitness competitions. I was traveling to still continue working in the service industry. Like I was trying to do 3 different jobs. And at the time, I just thought that was normal. Like this is a machine and it should work for me. And I'm in my early 20s. Like, what could happen? You look healthy, but I felt like crap.
Yeah. And then how did you transition over to, okay, now I'm going to become a practitioner and I'm going to dive into not only now that I'm well, how can I help others? I'm just share that bridge for them.
I mean, this was a decades long journey. So I left looking for ways to heal myself. I still had to support myself in that process. My first certification actually in, I guess, like the health and wellness field was Pilates. And it was physical movement, like literally moving the energy through my body, helping. I had a herniated discs, obviously like a lot of compression injuries from gymnastics. But at 19, I actually like herniated 2 discs weightlifting. So in an effort to try and heal myself physically, but I was still dealing with extreme gut issues that I'd had that manifested at 6 years old. And I had been told the majority of my life, oh, it's just IBS. They didn't even know what SIBO was. Forget about that. But just the broad spectrum of IBS, and you're just going to have to deal with this for the rest of your life. So in my mid-20s, I still thought that these things were normal, not realizing like anything about gut microbiome and inflammation and all of that. So as I'm training in fitness now, like I fell in love with Pilates, and 6 months later I had certifications in, TRX suspension training and circuit training, and kettlebells, and you name it. I did it because I loved it. And I call it recovering type A, I wanted to still do all the things. So I hadn't really learned how to like sit with myself and not burn the candle at both ends. I just changed the focus of it. And after that, I got still dealing with the pain on a daily basis in my gut and the bloating and the gas and all of those really uncomfortable symptoms that make you not want to leave your house and perform and show up. I got my first nutrition cert, IINT. It was just something online that I did. So it was like dabbling and still listening to all of these doctors. I had considered going back to like Bastyr and getting a 4-year naturopathic degree. I'm like, I love this. Like I really enjoy learning more about the body, and how Mike introduces me. That's funny is like, the aerospace engineer that found the human body more fascinating than rockets. And it's true because this is the vessel that constantly changes and no 2 of us are alike. So like the whole bio-individuality, like really allows me to be like a PI for your health and the work that I do now. I'm certified as a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. So that is the kind of been the end result of my journey, where it's like, I needed to know as a researcher, as a clinician, like I wanted more information. I wanted the functional data to know what makes the inside of your body unique and how to clinically correlate that with all the data of the lifestyle that you were living. And I just didn't have the answers before. So I was throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, like think about like spaghetti and like what sticks. And I still didn't have a lot of answers. And this was really like the cherry on top of the cake, where it's like I finally had an understanding of myself and felt confident now that I could get the answers and help people on their path back to wellness.
And I would imagine that ended at some point with understanding the electrical panel and the electrical voltage of the body, and how in order to heal, you needed actual physical energy, quantum energy, if you will, to heal. And for me, like you, through the journey, like you're finding, oh, I'm healing. There's this energy inside my body. Okay, yeah, I get it. You know, oh, Pilates, I feel the Kundalini energy when I'm doing yoga. Yeah, I feel it when I'm doing the meditation. And, you know, you dive down that path. And yet it seems woo-woo, but then people like you, and I love Mike. Mike is her partner who, much like Ian, is unlabeled in so many ways, but yet I would call him, the way I describe Mike and Alyssa is, I don't know if you've ever heard me say this, but it's the rocket scientists and the shaman got together and made a mat. That's what happened. It's their brain, it's their heart and brain child.
Science and spirit in a mat. And we talk about that. I'm like, it's literally us in a mat. In a form that you totally bring into your home.
It totally is. And that what I love about it is you do bring this engineer brain to this ancient wisdom, knowing that, okay, we have this voltage in the body. We need the voltage in order to carry through all the mechanisms, from the homeopathics to the orthomoleculars to the red light we're using to all the things. If you could explain that a little bit, and how you got to the point where you wanted to have your own mat, because I know that journey is only in the last like 4 or 5 years of your life that it's been like called to you to do this. Like you were functioning as a practitioner. You and Mike are seeing clients virtually and in person. You live in Vegas. You had a clinic, right?
We did before the pandemic. Yeah, we both.
Right. I thought so. Yeah. And then the pandemic happened, and
we were non-essential. So we had to shut down and figure out this very daunting task of shifting everything online when, frankly, we talk about this a lot. Like practitioners are not often the best at being on social media and being in person. We're good one-on-one in person, but like showing up in front of the camera has been a really daunting task, but it's also been the most beautiful and rewarding thing that we could do, because instead of being one-on-one now, it was really shifting the focus. Like, how can we help more people? If this is our mission, if this is why Source brought us together, because like, this is where everything shifted. When Mike and I got brought into each other's life over 4 years ago, we realized like we were on this shared path. Like there is no accident that we've done this before. I believe, if you believe in reincarnation, like that we've done this for lifetimes. And when we saw each other, it was like, oh, I know you. Like there was no unseeing what we saw. And it has been a continual, like we're an amazing barometer for each other, because I am so rooted in logic and he's so rooted in like feeling, that we get to bounce like ideas off each other and manifest and co-create this beautiful life and experience in service of others together.
And it is exactly like that. And that you feel hugged being around them, much like you feel when you're on your align mat. Truly, that it's, they exude joy, just like you can see and feel from her voice. They exude wellness and looking and being around them. And as you know, I very much am, one of our core values at the True Wellness Center is walk the walk and integrity and align with yourself. And so the name of their mat's Align Quantum Mat, which is cute. Because they really align, and they're like the yin and yang, and I'm fortunate to have a partner like that as well. But, you know, I say at times, because we've been doing this for a little longer than 4 years, it's coming up for our 13th wedding anniversary and 27 years at some level being together, Ian and I. And at times, you know, you think that he's the anchor, but what I realize now is he's the anchor. That has allowed me to fly all over this world and this planet and stay steady and not fly off the planet, or I don't even know, be the Tasmanian devil, so completely out of control and completely the untethered soul, because I do surrender. Like I am the feeler, like Mike, I'm more the feeler, but then there's the science part of me that like has to understand it. And that I've had my own inner turmoil while he's just been steady state going, Yeah, there's a science. You need to figure it out. I mean, I feel it. It's right here. It's called energy. Like, what's your deal? What's your problem? Don't you feel it? It's energy. Oh, you got to go figure out the light flood and the dark field and the HRV and the CRT. Sure. And that's going to this mat is a perfect thing. So what I love about the mat is this.
The visualizer.
What I love is he got on this mat and he has never done a mat that he felt. Now we have had a PEMF mat, PEMF, which we're going to talk about. Honestly, we really are. And what that means, but we've never really felt it. We know that it works because we've proved it on HRV. And we've also tested a lot of other things out there that didn't work. So we are the litmus test in many ways. But he got on this at Stephen Oslim's at the warehouse, and he was like, whoa, I felt it in my hip. Whoa, I felt it in it was his jaw. And he was having some issues at the time with his his hip and his jaw. So he was like, we need one of those. And I was like, I know, I feel the same way. And it was like 3 days before that I'd fallen down and went boom and broke my elbow. And I was like, yeah, I've been saying it for 4 or 5 months. Maybe it's a good time to get it like right now. Like now would be good considering I have a broken elbow. Well, we didn't know it was broken then, but a broken elbow would be good to have a PEMF mat. So then I got one, and outside of the coherence healing that we did, and now some Sound of Soul stuff that I'm doing in bath water, that is what I feel the most. Like it almost was like surgery, particularly the first 4 to 5 weeks that when I would do it 2 to 3 times a day, after I broke my elbow, like I would lay on it and it would feel like I literally couldn't pull it off because the magnetic pull at my elbow was like, I feel like there's magnets on it and I can't lift it. And I could tell the second the PEMF went off. I can't tell now as much as I could then, which I find because I'm very sensitive. However, I would say I was more sensitive when I was dealing with a very broken elbow.
Yeah, I would love to share that testimonial because you sent me pictures of the x-ray when it initially happened and then a week later or 2 weeks later when you got
3 days later and 2 weeks later. And yeah,
oh my God.
The surgeon's like, it looks like you've had surgery. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And I did this primarily. I did the Align mat. I did GRT light, which is a red light. And I did a lot of freaking mind body matrix cream from TK. Lots of this.
Oh,
like sauce. And Somnium from Dr. Schaffner. But those are like my main in the beginning. Now I'm using Dr. Vive's bed more. Because of the fall last weekend, I definitely need it more. I probably should use it more then. I use some, but so tell me about this. So first of all, look how cute it is. Yes, I'm cute, my little jammies, but it's beautiful. Like it's really, I want to show everybody how pretty it is. Oh, if I do that, you won't pass through the light. So I got to do this. I put my little colored pen on so it matches. Isn't that cute?
Love it. Even at home, you just fixed it to the wall. I love it. The controller and everything.
Okay, it's permanent. Not going anywhere. So we had it for all of like 2 hours. When I said to Ian, oh, isn't it cute? We thought we ordered this for our house to have here while I'm healing.
Permanent fixture now.
It's not leaving our house. We have to order a second one for the office. So now we have one at the office and everybody at the office loves it.
So this is a common theme that we are seeing. I don't know if Dr. Dawn DeSylvia and Justin at Just Hope for Healing in Thousand Oaks, same thing. They're like, we're getting one for the office and it's never left their house.
Yeah.
It's their own personal tool. So yeah, that was the thing. It was super important for us in our 2.5-year journey. Again, like the quest and the reason that we were brought together is to help more people learn how to heal themselves and to have tools to be able to do that. We'd been in this biohacking, which, you and I share the disdain for hacking anything about our biology, but needless to, it's what the word is. So biohacking space and trying all of this technology. It started with everything from high intensity PEMF to microcurrent, several other companies. And whether it was like, we felt it so much, like you're constantly like intention mode because the energy so high, or a lot of the low intensity devices we never felt, as you and I, you just said that he had never felt anything either. That was a similar experience. And especially when Mike is on something who's hypersensitive and he's not feeling something, that, I mean, we're living in a society where it's like, no gain.
He's not feeling it. Like, he can't do a foot bath, and a major difference foot bath, because he feels like he's being electrocuted.
Yeah. So hypersensitive, if he's on a device that doesn't feel it, there's something amiss. And that was the similar situation with Mike and I. And we're like, we know that there's something here. And me, I'm the researcher. So 50 years of PubMed research looking at the data predominantly for pain. So arthritic type of pain and reduction in that from low intensity PEMF. So you're looking at like 30 hertz and below. And then like a lower Gauss rating. So you're not looking at these high intensity devices. And to give people a barometer, like a high intensity Gauss device, like an MRI machine, is like 10,000 Gauss, super high. We're looking at 100 hertz or 100 Gauss, 50 Gauss and below. So very low. The Earth's field is like 1 Gauss. Just like the Earth that we walk on, we're getting that Schumann resonance, just to give people like a perspective that it doesn't have to be high intensity to get maximum benefit. But it still should be a subtle shift and a feeling that you're feeling in your body. So like you said, when I feel the frequencies on and I feel a shift when they turn off. Your cells know. And when you're saying it was like your elbow was glued to the mat, well, that magnetic field, it's being produced in the mat in a toroidal pulse that's coming out from each one of those cores. But at your body, it's the infinite wisdom of your body that's directing it where it needs to go. Because each one of our cells are like little batteries. So when the charge is low, when the voltage is low, the body is this living vessel that's like, hey, we need more energy here. And that mat is like a human charging pad. So it's giving extra energy where, you're keeping your lungs breathing and your heart beating. And it's like, we have a finite amount of resources naturally. It's giving you more. So your body can do more.
The voltage, just, she's talking about, and I feel like I'm like that woman from when I was a little kid, like, and I see Sally and I'm really going all in here. If you're not watching this video, you should. I'm wearing a freaking onesie. And I've been living in them since I broke my elbow. And I don't care anymore because they're freaking comfortable. But here's what I'm going to say. Voltage. I really do want to talk about that for a second. Heart rate variability. I've recently been told I'm putting an extra syllable in it. Heart rate variability is looking at what our R to R value is, right? And our R to R value is the frequency that comes out of the heart wave versus brain wave. Some people look at brain wave and they're studying that. And Gauss or Hertz coming out of the body is looking at the toroid field, is looking at the electrical field, the electrical impulse that's coming out of the body, correct? Aerospace engineer, Alyssa?
Yes. Okay. It's fun, actually.
So, yeah.
I was going to say, you can actually do this with an egg. So everything has a charge. So you can look at, the head of an egg, like as like a fertilized egg, is a positive charge and the feet are a negative charge. So we talk about grounding, going out on the natural Earth surface and grounding ourselves because we're dispersing electrons that way. It's a ground. It's that negative charge. Our toroidal field is positive out our head and negative as that ground. So the field.
So we need both ions. We need both positive and negative ions, correct? Mm-hmm. And an ion is just a charged particle, one way, one direction or the other, which...
We talk about polarity. His
name is Ian. My husband's name is Ian. Are you getting the husband joke, you all? This is funny shit. You are making this up. He is energy. What did you do to help me? He says energy. That's funny shit. But ion really is ION, is a charged particle. It can be positive or negative, but we need ions. Can you explain to the audience why we need ions?
So when we're talking about polarity, so like you were talking about yin and yang earlier, dark and night, like we need this whole duality of nature. So even in our body, so this is beyond biology, we're talking about smaller particles. These are charges, electrons. We talk about an antioxidant and an oxidant system. So people are eating all of these antioxidants. Our body, mitochondria, when it's producing energy, so little powerhouses of the cells, are producing free radicals, oxidants. So we need antioxidants to balance this. But there's still a balance between this system, between positively charged things and negatively charged things. You can't just be all one or all the other. We don't exist in a vacuum, and everything requires a level of balance between these charges. The problem is, living in this modern society, we have, as animals, we are still very much animals that have removed ourselves from the animal kingdom by living in these little boxes, non-native surfaces under, tons of EMF frequencies, so non-native frequencies, fluorescent lights. So those are also a wavelength. So the further that we've pulled our bodies out of this evolutionary state of being away from the environment, the more imbalanced we become. So the more reactive oxygen species, those free radical oxidants that we're exposed to, and the more out of balance with that ionic system we become. It reduces our energy. It reduces our actual charge. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well.
No, you're doing a great job. And I want people to understand, we're going to have a part 2 with Alyssa Blue. We're going to go in a little deeper into the quantum and understanding the ionic charge and the cell charge and the voltage of the body, because this is highly important. This year, when I recorded, last year, actually, I recorded a bunch of master classes with Rasmus Scout Bergenhausen, the creator of Son of Soul. It's all about frequency, vibration, energy. Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, you must first understand energy, frequency, vibration. Einstein said, the future of medicine is vibrational, and you are creating it through your thought life, through frequency. And if you want to understand how to create your life, watch your frequency, which is your thought life, and then you only get what you want. I'm making this up. So are you. You co-created this episode. Good job. Oh, and you created my son coming in to interrupt us. What do you want? You've never done this before.
We have an ant infestation.
Well, then you and Dad need to figure out the ant infestation. You want to say hello to Alyssa?
Hi.
Hi. How are you? Good to see you.
Well, that's a sign of nature that we have an ant infestation in the house, but we really are recording a podcast. So we'll be out until in a bit. Thanks. Live right here. We have an ant infestation in the house. So
it's spring.
There must be some kind of frequency that they're going after, because it's a frequency. And ants are a perfect thing to talk about. Like, they communicate through frequency. Like, they're not having words. They're communicating through frequency. And they know where to go. And I mean, they're frequency beings, if ever there was one. We're all connected to this frequency of which life comes from. And this voltage that allows the body to have energy pumping through it, this voltage, which rather is the energy that's pumping through it, through the fascia, then gets translated to minerals and neurotransmitters and electrical impulse, which we then test through heart rate variability, and we can look at voltage. So when I look at it, I'm looking at live, like, are you at 200, 400, 900, 1200? There's a big difference between somebody that's vibing at 1200 hertz coming out of their body and somebody that's voltage is like 400, right? And so talk about that for a second. Go ahead. I can feel you want to say something.
I love we could go on so many tangents. And I was like, oh, try and keep it concise, but there's so much to be said about this. Just even talking about like 200 hertz and the 1300 hertz that, we got to bring up Craig Goldberg, but watching him on Sound of Soul in a room full of people, and he's sitting at 1300, this pure bliss and love that this man exudes for life is palpable. He's incredible. And he lives at that state. And it's a practice, but it's also, like we say, like chicken or egg. Like, what are the state of the frequency of like your neurotransmitters and your physiology that are impacting your mood and your emotions? And we're going back to energy. Like, what are the tools that you can use to help raise your vibrational frequency, and how much of it is a, mind body medicine? Like, what are you practicing with the inputs? Do you love the life that you live? Are you walking in a path of purpose? They feed on each other. And that's a big part of my story, because even though, I'm a certified FDNP, but we didn't talk about the energy side of it. It's the mindset that really helped me evolve my own health. I had to believe that I deserved to be well. Because even in my physical practice, if I'm walking with someone that's another good recovering type A, like a little perfectionist like I was, which I seem to attract, because we talk about creating this reality tangibly with energy. If they are checking all the boxes and 6 months into a protocol with me, they're like, I just don't feel well. We need to look deeper into the subconscious mind, which is energy, that transmission and reception of energy, and wonder where the programs and these subconscious beliefs, again, more energy, are being created that don't allow them to believe they deserve to be well, to actually translate that from an energy into physiology. And somehow, not somehow, we know how, but being on a technology like Align, it allows their nervous system to shift. So when someone's not running from this metaphorical tiger in fight flight, when they shift into parasympathetic, when their body is in a rest and digest state and they're calm, they can think a better thought. It allows the body, and also the PEMF, the energy being delivered into the body, to calm the nervous system, to help deliver energy to where injured parts are, whether it's mentally and emotionally, which we've seen emotional responses to the armor, the metaphorical armor being taken off of people's bodies when their nervous system shifts, these emotional responses that happen. And that is energy that's disallowing the body to heal.
And the way I look at it. Sorry, say that again, Alyssa.
It's allowing it to flow, right? Like we are supposed to be energy in motion. Did I steal your thought?
That's what I was going to say. And what I teach is flow, right? So let's get the fascia, which is the frequency fabric, to open up, treating the scars so that the lymph can magnify that frequency. So it's in flow, full circulation. So the oxygen can travel everywhere it needs to go and carry all the elements that it needs to in the ethers, so that the water can structure, hold the information so the energy can flow at the speed of light and sound, because you're just a frequency waves. And what I was saying is from the heart, when you're parasympathetic, when we started this little rant, was it's about the heart opening and being in alignment with the mind and the gut. But the heart, it's more informing with 40,000 and more sensory neurites, informing the brain from the heart than the other direction. And when we get into that parasympathetic state, we're allowing that heart to be in lead. And then that's the gift of the shift, if you will, the gift of the shift. And what I've learned through this injury as of recent and over these last 5 months, the way I've been saying it is I feel like I've gotten a master's in energy over the last 26 years. And then I got a PhD in the last 5 months.
It's been a rocket.
26 years to get a master's and 4 months of breaking your elbow, dislocating your shoulder, dislocating 6 ribs on a second fall while recovering from the first one. That makes you feel like you got a PhD. And what I'm going to say is, while I am in alignment with knowing I deserve this, while I'm in alignment with my physical body, knowing what I needed to heal, I used technologies that would give that back to me. And I want to, at the very end of this recording, just briefly talk about the 3 things that make your mat so very differently than the other mats that I've used, or the other tech that I've used. But then on part 2, I want to go into, for those that want to join us for that, a little bit more about this voltage concept and this concept of how we actually derive our energy and why it's important to look at the body physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and energetically. Because when I did this, my voltage, which resonated between 9 to 1200, dropped right to 400. I saw it on the Sound of Soul when I came home from that weekend we were together. So I broke my elbow. Then Alyssa and Mike were with me for my birthday weekend. And I got home and got on the Sound of Soul. It was like 400. What the heck? That's the day I called you and said, can you sign the Align mat now? Because I've watched my voltage for a long time. And when I got on it, I was like, oh my gosh. And then they sent this really cool thing. So this is, can you explain what this is? This is like Kelly's all happy researcher brain. She made me so happy. I love her so much.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So that's what I said, science and spirit. We got to show you what we're doing. So literally it's a magnet in a jar. It's called the visualizer. And the technical term that Mike and I call it, because it's just fun, we call it a jiggly-do. So if you want to, don that fond little name for it, feel free to take it.
I have, I'm going to unplug that light for a second so I can be mobile with my computer. You have temperature and you have voltage, essentially.
Yes. So We tried to keep it as simple as possible with the analog. I will tell your listeners to stay tuned that we are getting a completely touchscreen controller that they can expect to see out in the next couple months.
Oh, wow.
I've been working really diligently on that, and it looks super cool, more like an iPhone than that. But it is, again, it requires a little bit more usage. Like we want you to get on your mat and have the benefits as soon as possible. Like just keep it simple. And I wanted user to be able to go on an intuitive journey with themselves by hitting that program frequency. So, and you can't really see it on the camera, but it's a circle with arrows pointing towards it. And those are the Schumann resonance specific programs. So our mat is the only mat on the market that offers Schumann resonance specific programs to help you ground the body. Again, the whole intention, even though, so like there's infrared heat, not like a sauna where you'd go with the, objective to sweat out toxins. It's to calm and relax and soothe the nervous system. It's to feel yummy.
So I have it on often when I sit in the office just to warm it up, like in the winter, because this happened in January. I'm just going to turn on, and it's on so much in the office, and the infrared sauna is right next to it. You walk in that room and you're like, yay, let's open the window. It's a little warm in here. We don't want to melt the equipment.
Oh my God.
I tend to have it. When I get on it. At the center, we try to do it at 30s and 40s because it does get very warm.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the infrared is beautiful. And then you have, so what this magnet does is prove that there's resonance, that there's actual frequency coming out. So
each one will explain the science a bit more. So internally, there are 8 cores. So go where the lapis lazuli is. So we use all genuine stones sourced from mines all over the world. And there's 8 cores in the mat. So it starts about the shoulder point. So your head would be where the amethyst is. Shoulders are on the lapis lazuli. And then you go hips, quads, and calves, basically. So there's 8 points on the mat where these PEMF cores exist. And they send toroidal pulses out from the core. So what it looks like is it grows out and it comes back in towards the mat, sending these pulses into and through the body. So the cells in the body, then the infinite wisdom delivers it where it needs to go, but you're wrapping the body in a bubble of healing frequencies as you are laying on the mat. Now, what's super cool is with the visualizer, each pulse, so if Kelly puts it at P1 is 1.2 hertz, which is equivalent to 1.2 pulses per second that are going into the body. That's the sleep frequency. So that low and slow 1.2 pulse is aligning with delta brainwaves.
That's P1.
Yeah. So watch.
I never did those. I have it between 11 and 12, 11 and 15 for some reason. Oh, because it's for fractures. Yeah, maybe that's why I'm using that for 4 months.
You have the secret frequency list where there are published PubMed studies that have actually been researched with PEMF devices and certain frequencies to be beneficial at nourishing parts of the body and accelerating our healing capabilities. So 11 to 15 is fantastic for your specific body in time, space, reality right now.
And that's what's so amazing about this. So it's heat. It's the gemstones. And can you talk about how you use specific gemstones? Not only are they in the color of the rainbow, the color of the chakra alignments, but then you didn't like lapis lazuli you had to use versus solidite, which is also blue. But why did you have to use that versus solidite maybe? Because I'm sure lapis lazuli was a little more expensive than solidite, for instance.
Yeah. So the stones are really important. So we equate it to, if you drink electrolyte minerals, right? So stones are minerals. Minerals help the body internally, in the case of like sodium, potassium, magnesium, with balance. But we're talking about energy here, conducting energy with water and minerals because they hold charge as well. Initially, when we were creating the mat, we were going to use jade for the heart space. We decided on green aventurine because each one of those stones holds their own resonant frequency that has an energetic flow. The jade was fighting with the blue chalcedony. They didn't get along. They were like, again, the magnets, a nonpolar magnet, they were repelling each other. So we had to find stones that not only got along with
That's
each
where
other.
the shaman Mike comes in, because he's out there muscle testing and dosing and dosing and going, this is not in alignment.
He's a feeler. And we actually, again, this was a 2.5-year journey. So we have other beautiful feelers with their gifts that were actively laying on the technology and feeling into it and helping us co-create this beautiful technology that was going to benefit so many others. So, and then our sourcing. So being able to work directly with mines and all over the world to source these genuine stones. And I think we've told you the story where it's like we've had people in our journey that gave us colored glass, and it just like you feel the difference. You know when something is genuine, authentic, and real, and really being able to work with people that we love, trust, and we can help grow something so beautiful and special together. So that was really important for us. And again, with Mike's work and the chakra system, and he's actually able to see the colors and he sees chakras spinning. So arraying not only the stones in the way that they do up the body, but also the array of the PEMF course. So it's allowing for this flow. Instead of antagonizing it, it's aligning with the natural systems of the body.
What I'd say is we are not a fractal. We're a kaleidoscope of rainbows, of sacred geometry, of ever-changing, ever-evolving water crystals in full explosion in a torrid field of this beautiful, harmonic, regulating organism in ecosystem when everything goes well. And this aligned quantum mat, properly named, really does accomplish that. I know you have a couple different versions, but I also want to let people know that as a practitioner, for me, one of the things that we've developed at True Wellness Center is a membership area to allow folks to come in and use all this technology. For over 9 years now, we've had saunas and PMF mats and vibration platforms and massage chairs and all the things that, Solera gems and Weber watches that people want, but it's a lot of money to invest in all of this stuff. And it's like, where do you put your investment? And in PMF mat world, you can spend $1,000, you can spend $50,000 as a practitioner. And as Alyssa mentioned, I've used both and I have that it's been, the vibration has been so almost violent in what it's caused in my system that it's brought sympathetic shock, not parasympathetic healing. And what I know about FLOWE Prezzo, which I love so much, like you can use it mechanistically or you can use it vitalistically. Like you can just get in it and do your thing, or you can have an actual experience. And the Align Mat is an experience in and of itself. Like we do stack it often with Neurovisor, but in and of itself, just laying here, like I look forward to it every day when I come home. I know Ian does too. Silas snuggles on it with me. And it really is so restorative. And for a price point, honestly, of $2,000, it is, am I right in price point? Am I wrong? Okay, no. It's like $2,000. Like
that was important to us.
That's so, I honor you both so much. And I thought you had the price wrong, and I still had to question it because every time I'm like, is it really just $2,000? We've had a lot of clients purchase them because they come and they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, yeah, get one for home, because it is cumulative, because we do so many things in this world that take our charge out of our life. And unless you're really working hard, now I'm going to rephrase, unless you've been very conscious and you've really been mindful of your charge and assessing your charge and really looking at it. I can tell you from looking at people's for 20 years, most people's charge is low. And one of the things we have to get right with a client before we can help them receive all that light, receive all that homeopathic, that orthomolecular, it takes energy in the body to make the mechanisms happen. And so that's one of the reasons EMF, Pulse ElectroMagnetic Field technology, has always been a foundation at True Wellness. I'm telling you, this has changed. I mean, we don't have a lot of equipment in our house. I carry my little sauna space back and forth. I have my Weber light watch. And of course, I have my FLOWE Vibe, right? And I travel these days with my RT because I'm helping that. But this is like, I had to make room with the massage table in my house because this was like needed. And when it was on the floor, the dog loved it. And you're like, oh, leave it on the floor for the dog. I'm like, no, I love you so much. I love my dog, but no, because I don't know. I'm sure you've done a great job with the whatever this material is, but I just love her nails so much, and she's not crawling on this line mat.
Animals love it because they feel the frequencies, right? They're so used to be grounded on all four paws. So as soon as you turn the pulse on, they're like, ooh, what is that? If that feels yummy and delicious, like me outside on grass and, natural soil, which they're disconnected from as well. And they need to receive that Schumann resonance, that recharge, that discharge that needs to happen. So the mat will meet you wherever you're at, whether you're like on the 40th floor of a Manhattan skyrise. And most people are spending more time indoors these days. We're working more from home. We are taking care of ourselves less, unfortunately, just because there are so many more demands on us in our busy day. And the beautiful thing about Align, we love stacking it with other technology, but in and of itself, like you don't have to know how to do breath work. You don't need to know how to meditate. You don't need to go anywhere to book an appointment. It can just be in your home. And the whole reason, besides the fact that every component of it's functional, every stone in it has a specific mineral content and property, it's beautiful. So because it's its own art piece, you want to leave it out. And that's our goal, is we want you to use it more often. It's a daily companion.
It is really beautiful. It's a conversation piece. That's one of the things at the center that we noticed, like we had one there and it was leather and it forever. But as soon as we put this one down, everybody's like, what is that? Like, it's just, which is great because then there's an affinity for it, right? An affinity is a resonance. And right away, visually, people resonate with it. And so they want more of it. And we are wanting to entrain you. This is Kelly Kennedy and the Flow. And we really want to entrain you into peace and joy and relaxation. That is the goal, because then you're in parasympathetic. And when you can shift and allow your body to shift into that healing mode, no matter what you're going through, maybe it's just stress, there's not enough of that, then this allows your body to shift that gear and get more into that parasympathetic. So I want to just give you an opportunity to say whatever you like before we take a break. And then we'll shift and we'll make another recording for our deeper dive with Alyssa Blue into really the quantum healing of voltage and really going into that cellular understanding. And what I want to bring into that equation is then what's signaling the cells and where does that come from in the body and how does that relate to the quantum and to the universe? Because this is about how the body works and how the universe works and how we can make that bridge between the two.
Blending between the physical and the quantum, because they both inform each other. They're not, again, they're not insulated or isolated. And that's one thing that I think I see the most. We work with these clients and we've been taught, again, good little type A's and work really hard. No pain, no gain is this whole philosophy that we've bought living in America. I think predominantly it's just been, do more, get rewarded more. And we're not seeing the rewards of that. We're beating ourselves up. So I think what I really want to leave everyone with is that, having tools, whether it's an Align mat or just tuning into yourself and putting yourself first, is going to allow you to keep all the plates and obligations and the things that you're doing in your life spinning and working more effectively when you put yourself first. Like, you got to love this vessel and take care of this vessel, because if you're sick, there's no way you can do all of the things that you love and enjoy and want to do, even if it is working harder to provide for your kids, even if you have the best of intentions. If you're burned out, and I'm speaking from experience here, I burned myself out at a very young age to be able to learn how to heal myself so I can now share this. We need to nourish and love on ourselves more now than ever, and to be able to provide and serve for others.
Thank you. I agree. And I hear that. And I would also say it's a never ending journey of learning how to really care for yourself. I would say that I have learned deeply how to care for myself. And in this last 5 months, that's where the PhD comes from, is we have tendencies in this 3D and breaking free from those tendencies and rising above consciously to be this divine is the challenge. And it's also the fun part, but it is deep. Talk about a rabbit hole. It's deep. And, learning how to having a tool to force us, if you will, to allow. Force to allow. That's a funny sentence, but it's true. To force us to allow, to relax, something that's so warm and so genuinely felt as an experience that's so accessible, because we're not the only clinic. I mean, there's tons of these clinics around the world at this point, correct? I mean, you're not just in the United States. So
Just
find somewhere where you can experience this. Yay, yes, Canada, yes, congratulations. Find somewhere where you can experience this and really consider it truly. And if you are interested, there's a code. We do give a discount. It's Kelly Kennedy is the code. So you can click that link. And then if this is something that resonates with you and you want to go a little deeper, join us for the second part of this. Become a subscribing member to the podcast so you can learn more about the quantum. But you have enough. You know enough from this podcast, enough. If you want more, you can find out more. If this is enough for you, we love you. If you want more and you're geeky like us, join us. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for everything you do and for being you, and give my love to Mike, and thank you for creating such a beautiful baby.
Thank you.